This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, and welcome to Food, Farms, and Chefs. And I am very honored to introduce you to Colleen Falicki, who is the founder of Back To Earth Compost. Colleen, thank you for joining us on Food, Farms, and Chefs.
Thank you so much for having me, Amaris. I'm really excited to be here to talk with you and Jean.
So, Colleen, as a subject that is certainly making new headways into, the sustainable agriculture, sustainable farming, home gardening world, organic composting and, taking table scraps and generating great soil out of it. This is something you learned as a child, I understand, from your grandparents.
Yeah, absolutely. My grandmother used to put a hole in the ground and put her food scraps, just dig a hole and put the food scraps in it that way. And my other grandparents had a nice sized garden in their yard. I kind of grew up around that. But I guess it wasn't until I was older that I realized I wanted to be more sustainable and found different ways to do that. Whether it's, composting or using less plastic and just being more mindful and, also more mindful of the types of foods that we're eating, right? I would take my kids to the farmer's market and try to get local produce, get to know the farmers, things that we were putting in and on our bodies so that we could be, use more natural products. So, I feel like it's kind of come full circle as I've gotten older. And then I wanted to be able to help other people who, that don't have the space, that don't have a garden to use their compost or just don't have a space to compost in their yard or their house to be able to do that. So it's been exciting.
Before we get too far into, your passion for this and everything that you're talking about, which is really wonderful, I want to explain to our listeners, and correct me if I'm wrong. In short, you provide the ability for people to compost they sign up on your website, you provide them a bucket, they save their table scraps and, things that can be composted and vegetable scraps and, things from just cooking and doing around the house that can go into a compost pile. You give them a date for pickup, you put the bucket out, and your crew comes and takes that and goes into a giant compost facility.
That's how it works. Basically, we give our composters a bucket or two or 3 if they need it, and then they're on a schedule. They do we do every other week pickup, and then we haul it to be composted, to be made into the soil amendment that compost is. And, we're out there, every day we work with businesses as well. So if you're a restaurant that produces food scraps, which most of them, not all of them do, we can help them as well. And, we just take the burden off of, the person that's producing the scraps to be able to, create compost, and they feel good and making a difference in keeping it out of the landfill. So it's a great feeling to be able to help the community to do that in a way that is easy and and affordable. We also have collection sites where our composters, they can either use a bucket that they have or buy one of ours and bring it to us at a farmer's market location that we have. I think right now we have 6 collection sites where community members can bring their scraps, and it's only $5 for a 5 bucket drop off. So, which makes it, if they're already going to the farmer's market or, want to start going, it's a great way to bring your scraps and buy your local produce. So it's pretty cool to see.
You hit on there that's so important. Many years ago, I was generating a lot. I've been in the restaurant and the food service industry, and we had a local farmer that was coming around and taking our compost, and we had to set up a commercial program with it at a college. And that farmer then retired and went away. And we searched long and hard for years, and we could not find anybody. And we ended up having to put all that back into the garbage system. And to dispose of it that way. And the fact that what we could do in a commercial industry with a program like yours, many years ago, I worked for a coffee company, and at the flower show, we were, we produced so many coffee grounds that we worked with, the city of Philadelphia, and we worked with the host of the flower show to actually be able to recycle those coffee grounds.
Did you give them away?
We were turning them into compost at a city facility. So
nice.
We're doing that because coffee grounds are so important and so, a nutrient-rich product.
For sure.
So.
Oh, that's great. It's instead of throwing it out, you can, put it around your plants, and add it to your compost, and it definitely is a useful component, as is like the food waste from the restaurant. You don't realize it until you stop doing it, how much you have.
Oh, it is,
right?
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. We keep track of the weights for our composters, so they're able to log into their portal and see how much carbon they're offsetting just by composting and how much weight they're saving from going to the landfill. It's pretty. And when they see it, it's like it adds up quickly into thousands of pounds.
So my personal experience, I grew up, my father was an organic gardener, and we had a big garden in my backyard, and I didn't grow up with a favorable experience in the fact that for me, it was a lot of work, in the
Sure.
fall, we would gather up bags and bags and bags of leaves, hundreds of bags of leaves, and then, we would grind them up and put them into the soil, and, he would drag me to the local horse farm to get manure, and, we would be having to save all the scraps in a bucket and take them out back and put them in the compost pile and doing all that. But then I realized that while everybody had gardens back then, my fathers were just amazing. He would be producing so much. We would be feeding everyone with, the vegetables he would produce, bushels and bushels of tomatoes and zucchini and cucumbers. And I learned to realize that was because of what he was doing, how little work it was. And, now here at my home, I have two, 8x4 plots that I produce an abundance of vegetables at, and I do it without any type of chemical fertilizers, anything like that, with just
by using the compost.
And I start with every couple of years I'll buy some mushroom soil down, and then just keep the compost going, and how crucial that is. So
yeah, it's so needed to create healthy plants. And adding it to the soil, you have healthy soil when you add it to the soil, you have healthy plants. And then when you eat it, it's like there's more nutrients in the actual fruit or vegetable. So we're healthier.
And it requires so little effort. I mean, for me in the winter, it's literally just saving my scraps and putting them down and then tilling it into the ground and doing that, So one that I know that you do too, because I grew up doing this, I learned it, but you also offer workshops and classes and an opportunity. Tell our listeners a little bit about how they can find out more about that and learn to do this themselves.
Sure. Yeah, we try to make it easy and accessible to everyone. So I do a Zoom workshop. I host it once a month. If you go to our website, backtoearthcompost.com, and click on workshop, it's $15 for the workshop, and it's the first Wednesday of each month that I host the workshop. And it's nice because you can ask as many questions as you want. I try to make it very interactive, and we have all levels of composters that might be on the workshop, and you can ask me questions. We share. I think it's great because everyone is in different, I guess, modes of learning how to compost, so we can learn from each other, which I love. But I will teach it's called the 5 Easy Steps to Home Composting. I also work with local municipalities, night schools, organizations, gardening groups. I've done, I think in May and June, I did a dozen workshops on 5 easy steps to home composting. So it's one of my passions. I really enjoy teaching that class and being able to answer live the questions, because when I started composting, I didn't know a lot of this, and I wish that I had the guidance. So I tried to make it easy so that there's 5 steps. Then you also have me after you start the next, you go, start that night, start collecting your scraps, and you don't know what, you have some questions, you can email me. So that kind of goes along with it. Anyone who's taken my workshops can just send me an email and I can help them out. So.
One of the other things that I really love that you do is you publish some of your commercial clients, that you do that so that people know that when they're going to particular businesses, that business is supporting this type of sustainable agriculture and things like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That list is growing and growing now, that people are realizing, how easy it is for a business to do this. Yeah,
it's great. I feel like it's really important that our communities know, the businesses that are being, taking steps to be more sustainable. So we want to shout it to the rooftops and let everyone know that this business or that restaurant or that cafe is composting, and if folks love to hear that, and they really like to support those businesses. So I think it's important that we showcase and highlight, and just they're doing this, and we try to do as much as possible to promote it. So.
Right, and you do a lot of other educational programs like Lunch and Learns, and go out and speak to groups and do a lot of that.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy it.
Can you tell our listeners, in short, I mean, for somebody who's never done any composting, what kind of household products, are they not putting in a landfill? What are they saving from going out into the landfill every year by just putting it in? What do you, search for in compost?
Yeah, so they're saving. It's crazy to think about this, but it's 40% of what we throw away. Estimated 40% of what we throw away is compostable. So they are, all of their fruits and veggie scraps, their eggshells, their coffee grounds, their tea bags, their coffee filters, even napkins, cardboard, shredded, ripped up pizza boxes, things like that, that just a lot of the stuff is water weight, like watermelons and melons and, corn cobs. Like there's things like that are heavy, and you can create something from it instead of having it go to a landfill and take up space, or create methane gas, or go to be burned in an incinerator. Like there's other ways that you can divert this, and it's easy. And the other thing is, like, if you're not local to Philadelphia, suburban Philadelphia, there's a number of composters. There's a lot around the country. If you look at Institute for Local Self-Reliance, there's composters like myself all around the country. So you can look on that website and access a local composter, or learn how to compost in your yard, on a patio. You can do it in small space. You can do it in your house, actually. There's ways to do bokashi and worm composting, not just, outdoors in a tumbler. So if you're looking to divert the food waste and create something out of it that can be used in your garden, definitely seek ways to compost. There, most likely you can find something that you can do. It's easier than you think. I always tell people that it's easier than you think.
One of the things I always thought was, a terrible waste. We have so many, Starbucks and places like that, by saving those coffee grounds and by saving their filters and things like that, how much that can do to go back into the environment. Growing up doing that, and you mentioned a lot of things, the cardboard and the paper. My dad would use that. He also raised worms for the compost in the garden. So that was for, the worms. And in my basement, we had bins of worms. And,
you did vermicomposting in your basement.
Yes. Growing up.
Fantastic.
I don't know if I ever shared that with anybody in my life before, but it just
Oh,
came back to me, and it was like, oh yes, I remember that.
it's so important to share these things because then people know that it's not as difficult to do as it might seem, and it's more common, right, than you might think. When we get out there and do events and we meet folks in the community, they come up to us, they're like, oh, I compost and I do this. This is how I compost. I'm so happy to hear that so many people are getting on board with it or already have been. And I like to hug them and just, it's good to know. And I'm like, share it with your neighbors, share it with your friends. We need to have this ripple effect because we need to make changes to how we're thinking about waste. So it's important to do.
And when I speak of this, I'm going back 30 years at that point in time. That this was my father was doing this, even longer actually. That was doing that, and now with my daughters, they have small little gardens on their patios, and I know that they're the eggshells and certain things that they're doing, and grinding them up. It's put them in the soil. Let's do those little things in the winter and make a difference. So, Ambrose, I believe you have a question.
I do have a question because we started gardening, and one of the things that I was considering is composting. But when you compost, like I've been to a workshop before, and I could have sworn they said that you have to add some sort of chemical. Well, not a chemical, but an organic chemical. We'll say that, like a natural thing, like acid or like lime acid or something. I can't remember what it was and then aerate it by like turning it every so often. Is there something to add?
That's interesting. So a lot of folks will say like you need to add a starter, but I actually say that you don't need a starter. You can use finished compost as your starter. So if your friend's composting, grab some finished compost from the bottom of their pile and stick it into your composter, and that's a great starter. It's the microorganisms that are, they heat up and break down the organic matter. So the microorganisms are kind of helpful to get started. If you start a composter on the ground with like the bare soil, those microorganisms, it'll happen. But you can speed it up by adding something. And I'm thinking that that's what you're talking about, like adding that starter, but you can use soil as starter too. So just keep that in mind. You can get some finished compost from Jean.
That's absolutely right. So as we wrap up here, we're out of time. Can you tell our listeners where they can find more information about you, your programs, the restaurants that you support, where we can get out much more information and hopefully convert a lot more people and a lot more businesses?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for asking. We're on, Back to Earth Compost, BACKTO, earthcompost.com. You can also go to Instagram, Back to Earth Compost Crew. We're on Facebook. I have a podcast called Speaking of Sustainability. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find that, and also on YouTube. So we're a lot of different places. Just Google us, and hopefully you'll get the information that you need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will be right back after this short break.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. I am happy to introduce all of you to Richard Dobies, who is the Director of Operations for M2O Group, as well as Tosca, which just opened up in the Germantown Avenue area of Philadelphia. Richard, thank you, and welcome to Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you for having me.
So, Richard, you are by far, not a youngin in this industry. The fact that you have a great resume behind you of, startups and businesses, and M2O Group is certainly a growing chain of, burgers, salads, great food. But for our listeners who maybe are not familiar with M2O Group, and obviously now with Tosca opening up your work there, tell our listeners how you got started in this industry, what your inspiration was, and a little bit about your background today.
Okay. So I got started in the industry at a very young age. I was kind of helping out at my cousin's restaurant when I was 12 years old. Did dishes, so I learned things like that. My grandmother, when I was a child, thought it was very important that we learned how to cook, and taught me how to cook a lot of traditional Polish food as well as just home cooked American food. Going forward, as I got older, I was intending on going into acting and theater, and I ended up instead getting a job right out of high school. My dad had an aneurysm, so somebody had to work for the family. That put me in various restaurants, primarily fast casual, until I was lucky enough to be taken on as an apprentice by Chef Lisa Scalaro at Movable Feast in Wilmington, Delaware. From there, I worked for her for about 2.5 years and just trained in fine dining and upscale. I did a lot of tasting menus, chef's dinners, just a lot of upscale stuff and some very large catering operations. I've been executive chef at multiple places, one of them being Cafe 67 at Newark Natural Foods in Newark, Delaware. And after the pandemic, there was not a lot going on. I wasn't working, and I took a job with the M2O Group. I was a general manager at their Newark, Delaware location, where I just kind of quickly grabbed the reins and kind of got the business to where it needed to be. When I first got there at the Newark location, it wasn't in the best shape. So I got their food costs under control, helped introduce a few new menu items, made some deals with some local groups, including Yay Lunch. So I was cooking food for a lot of the schools in the area. And when the guys saw Tosca, they invited me up to look at the building and said, "Hey, what can we do with this?" And after that, I somehow became the executive chef there.
Well, that's how it works. You had a great mentor at Movable Feast. Certainly, one of the better companies to ever work for and learn from, and that experience. And you took that opportunity and you ran with it. And we have this great new concept here opening up in Philadelphia, in the Germantown area. That while the food itself is, I want to say traditional pub fare, wings and pizza and burgers and sandwiches, craft beer, cocktails and wine. You really put a lot of special touches in it, and the little bit I know, you really have brought this to a whole new level and a whole new plateau. So tell our listeners what the menu is and what they should expect when they come there, as opposed to going to just a regular brewery around the corner.
Yes, sir. So as far as the menu goes, the pizza dough for starters is my own recipe. I spent several months tinkering around. One of the other partners got me a home pizza oven, a giant wood fire one to mess around with. And I just made dough as often as possible and tried as many different possibilities as I could until we finally settled on one that we really liked. There was that aha moment where we were like, this is the dough. This is what we want to do. And from there, it was, I wanted to keep things affordable, but at the same time, I wanted to be a little more upscale. I mean, considering we're brewing our own beer and the venue itself is absolutely gorgeous. So there's a lot of inspiration in there. I've got Korean barbecue pizza, which is my personal favorite. I guarantee you're not going to get anything like it anywhere else. There's a lot of the beer is incorporated into our food as well. I have an IPA beer cheese that I use for the standard mac and cheese with a truffle breadcrumb. And as far as desserts go, I even have a honeycomb panna cotta, which was one of my brain children, which is a traditional panna cotta, but it has honey and pistachios and bee pollen on it. And it's just something different. I don't think you're going to get anywhere else, and it just makes us very unique. I appreciate being able to play around with different flavors and different cultures and things just to, just be different. I like to experiment. We do also have a lot of Albanian influence. Our flagship pie is called the Motherland, and that has an Albanian sausage called sujuk on it, which there's not a lot of Albanian restaurants in the area, so it's great to have that option. We're also going to be expanding the Albanian menu as well, offering some light fare from there as well.
And exactly what you talked about there, so many businesses today, there's microbreweries and craft breweries are opening up. It seems like there's one a day anymore that opens up in the region and are everywhere. And not all of them do food, obviously. A lot do food truck and things like that. But the ones that do food tend to want to put the food as a secondary nature. They want to focus on the beer, and that's great. I understand that. I love that. It's a wonderful thing. But you really do both, and that's what I admired about looking over your menu. You come forward and say, you know what? Yes, you're coming in for a great craft beer. You're coming in for a wonderful cocktail, but you're also going to have a wonderful meal. You're going to teach you a little bit about food. You're going to learn something. And that, I think, is really the highlight of any chef, is when we can teach a customer something about taste and food, and try something different and introduce them to something. And you really do that. And then you add in this Albanian concept of, the sausages and the richness of that culture there. You really hit on something. How is, the neighborhood, the Germantown area, responding to the opening of this, and what's going forward?
So the neighborhood itself, it's interesting. There was a place there previously that was called Earth and Bread Brewery and Flatbread Pizzas. People are loving us so far, but then you do have some of the folks that used to go to Earth and Bread all the time, and they come here and expect us to be the same. And I assure you, we are very, very different. In fact, almost unrecognizable in comparison to what it used to be. We are doing traditional Neapolitan style pizzas with a little bit of, extra flair and a twist. We are brewing our own beer, but it's just so different that some people who were so used to going there on a, 2 or 3 times a week, because that was a place to hang out. I feel like in a way they're at times disappointed because we are not the same, but hopefully once they actually do give us a try and can accept that we're not the same and we're doing a very different concept, I think they could appreciate us a little bit more. We are bringing in live music and, some things that they did there before, hopefully, to appease the neighborhood. But at the end of the day, we're there with a brand new, fresh concept, and we want people to really understand that we are different. And, our food's frankly, our food's fantastic. If you don't try it and you're not trying it with an open mind, then you're just never going to know.
Well, I applaud you for being that brave to go out and say that, because it is true. People need to, yes, it's different. There's a change, but sit down and embrace that. And that's the nature of the world. And, let's take everybody out of our comfort zone and enjoy that. And I personally, I've not been into your business, and, doing the research that I've done, I was like, okay, another one on my list. My wife and I need to get out there and try this. As somebody who is in the craft beer and microbrewery world, I truly appreciated what you do, and saw that and said, wow, you know what? That's a business who gets it. That's what we model ourselves after. You're doing all that, and bringing in novel ingredients and doing that. You're also selling other people's beers, which, I don't personally do, but, I really love that, you have a, brewer who has a great resume himself here in the region. You brought in, and you're producing 4 beers at the moment, I believe.
We are producing 4 beers at the moment. We are hoping to have 4 essentially, kegged, and then they'll be on tap. And then as soon as they come off out of the brew tanks, we immediately start our next batch. So they will change. I believe that the Brewmaster Bren Lager, as well as the Three Brothers IPA, are going to be our 2 standards that are not going to change. But aside from that, we should be bringing in, making some new beers and just introducing new things as well. And the guest taps, I guess we just figured that was a great idea to have guest taps as well, because we have so many phenomenal local breweries in Pennsylvania. We were just hoping to showcase those as well. I mean, everybody knows, Trogs and Victory, and, of course they have a place in our hearts and in our restaurant, because those are things that we all enjoyed prior to, brewing our own. So I think it's nice to pay homage to that.
Well, sure, absolutely. And we at my location we produce 8, and we have 5 fermenters, and it's constantly one empties, move it to the holding tanks, and in goes a new one. I understand that battle. But your beers are a little bit different. I was looking through them, the list a little bit, and I really applaud. I think you and the brewer are on the same mentality of really bringing an A game of new ideas and some creativity, and just great quality production into what you're doing, starting with quality ingredients and going from there. I know in the M2O group, you have some great things you produce, your stuffed burgers and things like that. Are you looking to bring any of those items that were so popular over to the brewery here?
So we do currently have a burger at Tulska. We call it the Tulska burger. And I do believe that I want to bring a few more burgers in. The only difference is with the environment that we're in the brew pub, it allows me a lot more room to play around and to kind of, make things better and to elevate them. So the Tosca burger, that has thick cut bacon. It has our house made beer cheese on it. It has my house made comeback sauce on it, lettuce, tomato, onion. It's a half-pound burger. It's on a farmhouse bun. It's wonderful. It's like an M2O burger, but on steroids. And that's the whole idea, is when we do bring more burgers and even more chicken sandwiches to it, it's going to be the same but different. Like, everything is just going to be elevated.
Are you doing any work with local producers and local bread and local farms or anything like that to also support your community in there and bring in some of the Philadelphia flair as well?
So I'm really hoping to. I've approached some local vendors. Sorry, I've approached some local vendors. I'm hoping to get more, partnerships with local businesses. Unfortunately, right now, there's nobody close enough to us that can sustain our needs. So it's really logistics. I need to find local farms that are able to provide us with the right product and the right prices in order for us to continue to stay profitable and for us to continue to exist. So it's we're exploring it, and we hope to get on that bandwagon soon. But as of right now, I don't really have a lot of local vendors.
And I ask that question with that stipulation all the time, is people think, I get that all the time, well, who are you dealing with locally? And, I have to remind people that, we're in Philadelphia. We're not year-round agriculture. You're limited in products, costs are different, things like that. And, it all has to fit into the business plan as well. And, thank you for pointing that out, because it's so important in that aspect to do that. Now, to put you on the spot a little bit, when you walk into Tosca Burger or you talk into the brewery, so what are you sitting down and having?
Oh, so my personal favorite, and I mentioned it earlier, is the Korean barbecue pizza.
Okay.
That came about. I was laying in bed one night thinking, hey, I've got to make Korean barbecue for M2O tomorrow. And then what if I put that on a pizza? So it has an 8-hour braised short rib on it. It's got a combination of smoked Gouda and sharp cheddar. It's got a house-made Korean barbecue base. And what really makes it wonderful is the chili crisp topping on top. It gives you a little bit of spice and a little bit of that numbingness from the Szechuan peppercorn that's in it as well. It's so different. And that's just why I want it every time I'm there, because I know that I'm not going to get that anywhere else. So that would definitely be my favorite. As far as the beer menu goes, I would probably have to go with the Three Brothers IPA. I'm a big fan of IPAs. It also happens to be the one that I use in my beer cheese. For me, the more bitter a beer, the better. I just really enjoy that flavor. I enjoy hops in general. But those would be my 2 go-tos. On dessert, again, honeycomb panna cotta every day, all day. It is wonderful. It is different. It's unique. And it's also beautiful on the plate.
When you described that, I wanted to come out and get some right away. It just sounds like an absolutely amazing dish to do that. And, I like you. I'm I like a good bitter, so hops are a very important thing. And the fact that that is your choice for your beer cheese tells me so much too, because it's really going to blend in and really give a distinct flavor to that. So, some of the other items, like you had the Leo burger, the Leo pizza, things like that, are going to be seeing any of those debut anywhere?
Are you saying the burgers from M2O Group?
Yes.
Perhaps. I guess it really depends on the market. I think what our primary focus on right now is definitely the pizzas and getting the Albanian menu fully fledged and released.
Sure.
Currently, the Albanian menu is only really available if you know that it's there, or alternatively, it is technically online. But people who are dining in, we actually don't even have it on our menu yet because we're still going through the process of deciding exactly what we want to keep on there. I know we're going to have a mezda platter, which is kind of like a crudité.
Yep.
So I know we're going to have that, and that is truly wonderful. It has house-made bread on it as well. But as far as like other items go, we're still back and forth. Do we want to do the chofta? Do we want to do tov kosi? And me, not having a lot of experience personally with Albanian food until working with these guys, it's been interesting. I feel like I'm learning a lot, and it's going to give me new ingredients and new concepts for me to play around with. So hopefully in the very near future, next week or so, we're going to see that. And then after we get that rolled out, we should be having our menu update, and that would be when you would see, new burgers and chicken sandwiches and other, I guess, bar food or pub fare, as people would like to call it.
Well, I'm so glad that you're really going to embrace the brothers' Albanian roots and all that. And sadly, we're running out of time. Please tell our listeners where they can find more information, where they can very specifically get some information about the Albanian menu, because I think you're really going to take off there. That's going to be a phenomenal thing. And just how to follow you.
Yes, sir. So everything is going to be on our website at Tulska Restaurant and Brewery. The Albanian menu, everything should be released on there very shortly. You can find us in Germantown, 7136 East Germantown Ave in Mount Airy, PA. And, I truly look forward to everybody coming out and giving us a shot. And hey, if you stop in, just ask for me. I'm always there.
Well, I look forward to it. You'll be seeing me in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. I look forward. Actually, I have to be out there that way on Wednesday. Maybe I'll stop in.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will be right back after this short break. Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. And I am honored to bring in the executive chef, Allison Rizzo, who is at Oh Wow Cow Creamery. Allison, thank you for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you. The pleasure and honor is all mine. Thank you for having us.
No problem. So, first off, I did a lot of research on Oh Wow Cow, but I didn't do research on you. So how did you actually get into the business?
So it's really funny because ice cream has been my dream forever. Actually, one of my friends from culinary school works with me here, and we've always dreamed about working in ice cream. And through the crazy, circumstance, my mother-in-law actually introduced me to a Wow Cow. This is my first executive chef position. So that's probably why there's not much on me yet. But there's John Fazzuglio, the owner, gave me this really amazing opportunity to, play to my strengths and really play around with these amazing local flavors. And it's just been a dream come true. So,
well, I'm glad that, to hear that this is your first executive chef position, and that you are located or, working with such a well-established ice cream place. I know that John had founded it in 2009, and, that his mission basically was to work with local agriculture and local farmers, and bring that to the community, and then serve and support the community as well.
Absolutely. I like to liken our ice cream to, as weird as this is going to sound, kind of like sourdough. The idea of sourdough bread, like the air all the air actually flavors the sourdough, and we actually use the flavor of the area to flavor our ice cream. You could make the exact same recipe anywhere else, but it's not going to taste the same as Bucks County and Lehigh Valley does.
Yeah. And I mean, it's more than just, you're making more than just ice cream, which a nod to him is he actually has one of the few or scant licensing through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So it takes that up to another level as well. But I actually forgot what I was going to ask. So this is live radio. But oh yes, but you as a chef, obviously you went to culinary school. Which culinary school did you go to?
I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park.
So that is a well-established place as well.
Yes.
I want to give a nod to the fact that given the history of where you graduated, your education, and also with what his mission is, he set out to make sure that everything was made from scratch, including the stuff that you'd put in as add-ins.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It's kind of amazing. I have worked in every section of the business. I've worked from at the stores a couple of times, but I've pasteurized our base. Like you said, we have one of the few actual licenses in Pennsylvania to make our ice cream from scratch. I've cracked eggs with our team. Everyone here, we really are incredibly lucky because we have a lot of amazing people who just happen to know how to make amazing things from scratch. And if I don't know how to do something, I can ask at least 3 other people who will have an amazing answer for me.
Now let's delve a little bit into some of the local purveyors, because one of the big things that's a key component to making something taste so good is fresh is best. And you guys work with numerous purveyors or numerous farmers that contribute to the taste of and flavors and just the creaminess of your ice creams. What is it like? Because you had mentioned prior to us jumping on that, Trogger's Farm and Meadowview are 2 of the local farms that you work with very closely. So what is it like kind of working with them and bringing them as independent, contractors basically, and their stuff into, incorporating that into your ice creams?
Yeah, it's really amazing to work so closely with the people who grow or harvest our food. Meadowview in particular, the apiary we use, because we don't use corn syrup, we use actual local honey in our ice cream for flavoring and in the base. And just being able to talk with them and be able to learn as much as I can from them, and get their insight as well about things that we can do to make really fun ice creams we never even dreamed of doing. We also work with a lot of places, we work with Blooming Glen farm as well, and they actually have a CSA where we make special ice creams just for them. And I wouldn't have the opportunity to make those really cool ice creams if not for these amazing people.
Yeah. And I also saw on your list of people places that you work with, something that I've come across a couple of times at various events is Barefoot Botanicals. They have such fragrant additives.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the ice creams that you've made with them?
Oh, I mean, they have such amazing stuff. One of my favorite things to work with them is they have not just a beautiful chamomile syrup, but they have beautiful dried chamomile as well. So we get to work with it in 2 different ways. And we did this lovely honey chamomile lemon ice cream that had a caramel swirl. That actually the caramel came from a local candy maker. Speaking of local, Raymer's in Doylestown. So but Barefoot Botanical, they're I think they're Blue Leaf now, or something. They are really sweet people, and they have such an amazing know-how of herbs, of all sorts of things. So if we ever have questions, at one point I asked them about dandelions to see if we could do a dandelion ice cream. They're really cool, knowledgeable people.
And I do like the fact that like your ice creams, because I was looking through, your Instagram and some of the posts that are up. The ice creams are just drool worthy. Gene had mentioned prior to hopping on that, if we talk too much about it, he's gonna have to run out and get some of your ice creams. But I was seeing it and like the blueberries, like because you incorporate like the freshness. So blueberries, which are always in season around this time. Strawberry rhubarb you made, and then of course my go-tos are always, peanut butter and chocolate. So I saw like this decadent looking from a little bit past post from your past, this decadent looking chocolate confection that was just, I didn't stop staring.
It is the most dangerous place and the most amazing place to work for, because a lot of the time we'll come up with some really fun flavors, especially like when we got all the strawberries from Trogger's, especially. I know a couple of people were picking through and just maybe having a snack too, because like you can't help it. Like all this fruit is so amazing and fresh. Like we process it, make it into ice cream within like a day of them picking it, in most cases, and it's really fun. And we also get the ability to kind of turn it into a lot of interesting things. Like one of the last month's flavors was a strawberry salted stracciatella. For people who don't know, stracciatella is a melted chocolate that's kind of mixed in at the same time to make these like really lovely
ribbons,
chips. Exactly. And so it is a very simple ice cream because it's just salted chocolate and strawberry, but there's just something so incredibly decadent and rich about it that just takes it to another level.
Yeah. And I know like I'm not the biggest fan of like just a plain vanilla ice cream, but I'm sure that you guys, probably use like the fresh vanilla pods and like kind of scrape that in.
We work very closely with some really amazing vanilla purveyors, and they are spectacular. We work a lot with Lockheed Vanilla, and we recently started working with Mocha. They're up in around the Poconos area. They do chocolate and coffee, and they do some vanilla stuff as well. And they have a very close connection with the growers down there. So we have like Tahitian vanilla at our disposal, Madagascar, Indonesian, and we have a lot of fun kind of playing around with those flavors, because I mean, despite it being the same plant, it all tastes different and amazing in their own way.
Yes. And I know I still, because it's not a flavor that I've ever been able to get behind, but I know that the most popular flavor that is sold in the US still to date is mint chocolate chip. And I know that you guys have that as one of your core flavors, because you guys carry 12 core flavors in every storefront.
Yes. Mint chocolate chip is actually probably one of my favorite of the core flavors. And I think it's very funny because there are people who are like, this is like just eating toothpaste. What are you doing? And I think it takes, and not like ours does, but I think it takes, it takes a lot to really balance it. And while I'm the executive chef, I do have some people who work with me and have trained with me to make sure we have like the specific palette that we're going for. And I think it's really telling where somebody is and how they flavor their mint chocolate chip. It's a really fun, versatile flavor. And honestly, it's a polarizing, but a very fun one to work with.
Now, I know Gene's been to your one of your stores, or probably multiple stores, considering he has an easier like location where he lives. So Gene, what are some of your favorite flavors?
Well, see, I don't go for the core flavors. I always go up and get, what's kind of right there, new on the menu, going for that way. But I know you're not a mint chocolate chip fan. I am. I love that you just went on to explain that you can really tell somebody or tell a lot about somebody's palate by how they do their mint chocolate chip. I so agree. And one of the things that I like about yours is you could just taste that it's all natural. It's all great quality. There's, nobody, you're not dropping in a ton of, Monin mint syrup or anything like that into it. And that's one of the things that, really stands out to me about that. But I'm also a purist too. Like you know what? The strawberry, right in season, anything like that, anything that is just done right. I don't need a complicated, 42 different flavors in one type of ice cream. Give me a great quality vanilla with, really good quality vanilla bean in there, and I am just happy as can be. And at a Wow Cow, you can get that.
Well, thanks. It's actually funny because John, the owner's favorite flavor whenever he's asked is he just says it might surprise you, but it's vanilla. Because of that exact reason, like there's something very, understated but beautiful about vanilla. It's a base flavor for a lot of things. And, people say, oh, vanilla, it's boring. But, it's important, especially when you're in my shoes or similar shoes, where you kind of have to pick out the nuances and kind of like push and pull flavors, especially with when we're using things as fresh as we are, because I'll say to that sometimes we have the kids from the stores tour our facility. I'll tell them like sometimes the cows eat grass from a different area and the milk tastes different or the cream tastes different that we have. So like maybe we need to add a little bit more vanilla. Maybe we need to add a little bit more salt. Maybe we need to do this. So the fact that you appreciate a good vanilla is always great to hear.
So I'm gonna go throw back to the fact that I also saw you worked with a sesame. You turned sesame into an ice cream, and I was like, oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, that was a great flavor. I love kind of spreading my my wings, if you will, and kind of like trying to feel out different flavors. And surprisingly, that flavor was actually a winner for the children's recipe contest. It was they have an amazing palate, and she was I think she was like 5 or 4 years old. She was a sweetheart. But yeah, no, sesame was really fun to work with. That was around the time we were also doing a pineapple matcha pistachio was another one that we did. You wouldn't think it works, but it actually really is transformative and kind of goes from like one flavor into the next. It's just a beautiful transformation on your palate.
Yeah. So as far as, I mean, because obviously you do create different flavors that are, vastly like interesting for anybody's palate. And your images of which are like, as I said before, drool worthy. I can't even speak. Are worthy of every little last bite. And I'm so interested in actually visiting you, but what are some of the other things that you do? Because do you actually sell like the pastries that you do as add-ins, or offer pints, quarts, what are some of the take homes?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We do sell pints and quarts. We sell ice cream sandwiches. We actually do pops. We hand dip every single pop, and the person who does that is like an amazing artist when it comes to those. We also have cookie packs that we sell. The creativity and the talent of our head baker really cannot be contained. We actually have a special cookie coming out as a flash this week. That's a lemonade cookie with lemon curd baked into it. I know, it's great. It's like literally like sunshine in a cookie. Yeah, what we try to do is play to the strengths of everybody here and really showcase everybody's talents. If our resident pop maker has an amazing idea for a pop or even a sundae or whatever, we play around and we try to see if it works, and then we try to give them their time in the sun, and really, like, there's too much amazing talent in here that I am humbled by every day. There's so much to share.
Yeah.
So pints, quarts, ice cream sandwiches, pops, you name it, we have it.
And, like, do you ever do private parties like that you can cater to?
We do. So we have a couple of options. We have our Chalfont location has a party room that you can rent out. We have a parties to go option where you can go to the stores and you can purchase pans to bring home. And then we have for larger events, we also have coolers that you can have, like branded coolers, and we do scooping events as well.
That's a lot of fun. Now, I want to also mention, because I don't know if it's ongoing, but I definitely think that it's an interesting thing to give a nod to, which is Rock the Cow card.
I love Rock the Cow. I'm sorry, you just made me so happy. So, oh my gosh, Rock the Cow was so fun to come up with. We've had things. We had a tour de cow prior, and the idea to kind of give every store a little something special, and then also come up with the really fun names for everything was so incredibly fun and delightful. We were literally telling puns to each other across the room for like 2 weeks straight. We have a Figgy Stardust pop. We have, Here Comes the Sun Butter Milkshake. We have like all these amazing things that just put a smile on my face every time I think about it. So, and people have been really enjoying it. It makes me so happy to see people as punny as I am and really enjoy it.
I love a good pun too, but where is that still ongoing, and when does it run till?
Yes. Yeah, it's all throughout the summer. So you can go for as long as the summer break and all the kids are out of school. We do plan on at some point, generally speaking, we do it mostly throughout the summer, but we do plan on refreshing some of the flavors later down the line and keeping it fresh and cool. So I guess get them while you can, but they are all winners in my book. So you can't go wrong even if you just choose one.
Gotcha. Now I have one quick suggestion, and then let our listeners know where to find you online.
Sure.
So my suggestion is bring that sesame back into the chocolate, but then add like an infused, like a liquor infused, like a rum or bourbon or something like that. And maybe add in like something crunchy, like pretzel.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, scoop or pop or anything. That sounds amazing. We'll have to bring back our cookie pop. Sorry.
No, fine. But let our listeners know where to find you online, and your website, because I know you have multiple locations.
Yes, we have 5 locations. You can check it out at ohwowcow.com. We are also available on DoorDash if you are local, and it won't melt by the time it gets there. Would you like to know our 5 locations, or?
Yeah, just quick, what towns they're in.
We have Ottsville, Wrightstown, Easton, and Chalfont in PA, and then we also have Lambertville, New Jersey.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs, Allison.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.